Can Ukraine outright win this war?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it depends on how you define win. The fact of the matter is, from a conventional standpoint, the Russians clearly have overmatched the Ukrainians in terms of pure combat power. But winning means, if you define winning as can they kind of take over and subjugate the Ukrainian people, I don't see that happening. The Ukrainian people are standing tall. They are fighting hard. As the Russians begin to move into Kyiv and Kharkiv, they're going to find themselves in an urban combat environment. And the urban environment is going to favor the Ukrainians because, they know the alleyways, they know the buildings, they know the streets. You'll be channeling conventional forces. And at the end of the day, the question for the Russians is, can they sustain the morale of the troops? Can they sustain the willpower of the Russian people in order to continue this fight? That remains to be seen. And I would say right now, the longer this fight goes, the better chance the Ukrainians have of winning it.
Let's spell out just how bad it is in Putin's Russia. Now, we complain about inflation and shortages here, but over there, it is an economic catastrophe which is not going away. Think about that. You're Russian, and suddenly your finances crash because of a war you were not told about and which you're not allowed to object to, and there's no relief in sight. Long lines at ATMs, they're running short of cash. The ruble that you can get, virtually worthless. Imports drying up, and that includes medicines. Everything you buy that's imported costs a whole lot more if it's available. Visa, MasterCard, American Express, their cards do not work, and you can't wire money. Popular stores shutting down, rampant inflation. And if you're rich with money overseas, forget it. Your assets are frozen. In short, Russia's economy is largely paralyzed. The sanctions were supposed to restrain Russia. Well, that didn't work. Now the sanctions are punishment. Putin has put the world through the ringer, and the world wants revenge. Those sanctions are not going away unless Putin goes. I'll leave it at that.
It is extraordinary to see this level of destruction anywhere, let alone in a tiny village like this one. We are not near any military targets for miles. This is a village that has no real strategic value, and yet it was the subject of a fierce Russian airstrike on Friday afternoon. Just take a look at this. Houses all around this area were hit in that Russian airstrike. What you're looking at here is the remnants of the house of a man named Igor, who we spoke with earlier. There's a huge crater here in the ground. He lost 5 of his family members, as well as a friend. His wife and his wife's friend and his mother-in-law were in a car when the strike happened. They were killed. His daughter was in the house in her wheelchair, and she was also killed. We spoke with him earlier today. He said that obviously that he is just empty. He seemed disoriented. He's horrified by what's going on, and he said he doesn't know what he is going to do now. So this destruction all over this village, and that just goes to show, Abby, that this is happening all across this country. The Russians clearly trying to get closer and closer to the capital of Kyiv. We know that they are making pushes down from the northern part of the capital as well as the west in their efforts to encircle it and to strangle the city and to try to cut it off. We've been keeping a close eye on that column that has been getting closer to Kyiv, but it is, as far as we know, still at a standstill. But Abby, the fear now is because of the lack of progress that the Russians have made on the ground, because of that fierce Ukrainian resistance, that the Russians will step it up in the skies, carry out more and more airstrikes, just like this one, not only on the cities to then allow ground troops to go in, but also on the general population, on civilians, to get people to submit, to get people to leave. And as the Kremlin continues to say that they are not targeting civilians, they are not striking residential areas or civilian infrastructure, it is examples like this that just show you how indiscriminate these attacks are and how badly Ukrainian civilians are suffering.